Peterborough is the venue now for All Power and Muscle Power in the finals of the Leyland Daf Power Sprint.
Hello and welcome to Peterborough on the day we'll discover this year's sprint champions. When competitive rowing began here in 1863, all the racing took place on the River Nene. But today, as Peterborough Rowing Club celebrates its 40th anniversary by hosting the most important regatta in its history, attention will be focused not on the river, but on the club's own purpose-built course, the stage for today's finals.
And for those of you who've enjoyed our weekly dose of masochism, the worst is yet to come with the finals of the Channel 4 Concept Challenge on this dreaded ergometer.
With us once again is Olympic champion Steve Redgrave. Steve, you've rowed all our courses. This one's got buoys every 20 metres to keep the crews racing straight. There's no stream, so it should be absolutely fair. What can go wrong?
Well, that's right. It's a very nice course. There is no stream, no tide. It's a little bit different to all the other venues. Ideal for rowing. The only problem there can be is there can be a crosswind, and we have got a slight crosswind at the moment that can upset crews on the start. The wind blows across, catches the bows of the boat, the front end of the boat, and pushes them, which makes it very hard to line up on the start. Apart from that, dead straight course, buoyed all the way, fantastic.
Over the past 3 weeks, Daniel Topolsky has seen every single crew and sculler in the championship. So Dan, no hedging now. Where's your money on the boats?
I think Tim Crooks in the single, although Mike Horrocks and Dave Richards hit buoys in their heats, and they might well be going a bit faster than they were before, but I think Tim Crooks, very experienced guy. In the women's fours, Kingston were favourites last year, but they're not so far out in front this time, and the Lee or Thames might push them, but I think they ought to do it.
The men's eights?
In the eights, University of London won it last year, and I should think again they'll win it, but the Tideway Scullers are an outside bet. They are a crew of internationals, very experienced, but they've got to hit it right. And in this sort of racing, it's very, very close. Fractions of seconds count.
Just before we get onto the water for the first of the races, a reminder of the special format for our finals. For the opening heats, the 15 crews in each category have been drawn into groups of 3. All of them will be racing not against each other, but against the clock, and the 6 fastest will be seeded into 2 semi-finals.
And now to the racing, and first to look at the best performances in the early heats of the men's eights. In Heat 1, Rob Roy from Cambridge set the mark to aim at with a time of 1 minute 27.83. Our Scottish champions Clydesdale won Heat 2, but were almost half a second slower than Rob Roy. Dan's choice, the University of London, went in Heat 3 and justified his faith with a convincing win, fastest so far by almost 3 seconds. Wildcard qualifiers, Thames Tradesmen chased them home in second and were also faster than Rob Roy. But they were both bettered in Heat 4 by the internationals of Tideway Scullers, the first crew to break 1:25. Heat number 5, St Edward's School, City of Oxford and Agecroft. They're the schoolboys from St Edward's, coached by Bill Sayer. What's their plan?
Well, we're going to go as fast as we possibly can and just see what happens. So I think we're largely here for the fun of it. We don't expect to be the top 8, but we'll certainly go as well as we possibly can on the day.
In yellow, they're up against the City of Oxford, who were 4th at Worcester. Kevin McWilliams there, the stroke, 32 years old, and up against them, Agecroft in blue, who were 2nd fastest at Glasgow.
Another schoolboy stroke there, taking his St Edward's school crew off the start. Very important, these starts in sprint racing. 4 or 5 short, hard strokes to get the boat moving, then winding it up for 15, and then hitting your race pace. But St Edward's are one of the best school crews in the country. Very tight, disciplined unit. Although they're rolling about a bit and throwing quite a lot of water around. You can see the water coming off the ends of the blades at the finish of the stroke. But they're well in contention. Very little in it in this first 30 or 40 strokes. There's Agecroft, stroked by Eric Caldwell on the near side. But the crew in the middle, City of Oxford, doing very well there.
approaching halfway in this 500-metre course, and it's pretty level. Time on the left, fastest so far from Tideway Scullers. They're nearly 2 seconds outside that, but it promises to be a great race. Remember, 6 going through. City of Oxford in the centre, Agecroft this side.
Just watch those bars running. They've got to keep them surging and running between the strokes. And it's still City of Oxford, but look at the schoolboys on the far side, and it's Agecroft on this side, beginning to look dangerous.
Coming towards the line now. There's the fastest so far on the left. It's going to be outside that. Remember, 6 go through to the semi-final, and it is Agecroft in blue who crossed the line first. City of Oxford second, St Edward's School third. But all 3 times looked pretty respectable. And I'd imagine that at least 2 of those crews will be going through to the semi-finals. Well, there's confirmation. Agecroft safely through to the semi-finals, just into the City of Oxford. But the Scullers and University of London look a class above the rest. Well, as the spectators enjoy the musical accompaniment and fine weather, we move on to the heats of the women's 4s. In the opening race, the women of the Orange Army of the Lee Club were the fastest with 1:49.24, beating last year's runners-up Birmingham by 1 3/4 seconds. Heat 2 and the women of Tideway Scullers followed the men's example and topped the list with 1:47.77, handing Scottish favourites Clydesdale their first defeat in the competition. Heat number 3, Thames, Sons of the Thames and Kingston. And there are Thames in red, the wildcard entry from Kingston. In yellow, Sons of the Thames, also a wildcard entry. And there, the winners last week, Kingston.
Set, go!
Well, Kingston there on the near side didn't look quite ready. It was a rather messy start from them and from Sons of the Thames in the middle. Thames got away quite well, but Kingston pulling themselves back together again. And there's Thames, Pat Harkness at stroke, Leslie Baggerly, Christina Grant and Miriam Batten in the bow, with Cox Rachel Roulier lying down in the front. And Thames did get well away. On the far side there, they've just got the edge, but Kingston settling into a good, strong rhythm, much better than they were last week when they won at Kingston. Good, strong, solid stuff from these international girls, but they're pulling back, and they pull back to pretty well level there with Thames. And Sons of the Thames in the middle falling further behind. They're not really quite in the same class, but they've done very well to get as far as they have. And Kingston on the near side looking very powerful now as they're coming up towards halfway. They're just moving up level and maybe just edging past Thames.
Tideway Scullers time on the left, and it's inside them, the fastest so far, so this is a really crack heat, and it's between Thames, the far side, and Kingston just forging ahead this side. Sons of the Thames look long gone at the moment.
What a battle going on here, though. These 2 bows neck and neck. But it looks now as Kingston on the near side have edged away.
Coming up to the line, the last few strokes, and Kingston have just crept in front, although Thames coming back hard. It's very, very close, but Kingston just get the verdict. And Thames just 0.4 of a second behind. Very close and extremely fast.
And what a good effort from Thames. Just a chance to see again there. Russell Satford lying in the bows of the boat there, urging his crew on, and just getting them across the line ahead.
So Kingston lead the qualifiers for the semi-finals and are favourites to take the brand new boat back to their clubhouse. But watch out for Tideway Scullers, who are improving with every race. And now for the heats of the men's sculls. And the early races were again very competitive. Duncan Nichols, second at Kingston, also had to settle for second in Heat 1, beaten by 18-year-old schoolboy from Stratford-upon-Avon, Richard Briscoe. In the next race, 47-year-old Arnold Cook shed the years, going 1500ths faster than the teenager. But he was beaten by some 2.5 seconds by Ian Law, our winner from Glasgow. Heat number 3, Nicholas Holland, Arthur Wood and Tim Crooks. There's Captain Nicholas Holland from the Royal Engineers, a wildcard entry from Kingston. Arthur Wood from Camas, who was third at Glasgow. And the hot favourite, Tim Crooks, 38 years old, from Kingston, the winner last week.
A lot of pressure on these scullers here today. There's a lot at stake. The winners get a new sculling boat, and the runners-up get new pairs of sculls for their clubs. And on the near side, it's Tim Crooks, just edging off into the lead. And Nick Holland, an ex-Oxford Blue, boat race blue against Cambridge, sculling very well, set off at about 44 strokes a minute. And there's Tim Crooks. Good chance to look at how he coordinates that opening up of the stroke The legs driving and the back opening up. Very powerful sculler. And there's the ex-miner, Arthur Wood. 44 years old, but he's really determined sculler. A lot of power there. And he's doing very well. In fact, he's leading Tim Crooks. There in the middle, Arthur Wood. He's probably got about half the length. That's a very, very good effort from Arthur.
Quite a surprise. Ian Law's time up on the left. And this is inside it, 0.3 of a second inside. And the other big shock is that Tim Crooks is behind Arthur Wood at this stage, with Nicholas Holland fighting hard but trailing at the moment the far side in red.
He's sculling very well, Arthur Wood. Look at that. He's really, really holding back. Can he, though, at 44, hold up Tim Crooks? Big international Tim Crooks. He's beginning to tie up a little bit, Arthur Wood. And now Tim Crooks is coming there on the left of your screen. Wood's really hanging on, though. They're both looking very tired in this cross headwind. But Crooks has got all the experience, and he's just beginning to show now.
Here's Crooks coming through at the end of the 500 metres, and he's just forging ahead now. Ian Law's time on the left, and it looks as if it was going to be very close to it. Crooks passes Wood. And as he crosses the line, he's outside it by a second, but that's the second fastest so far. Arthur Wood second, Nicholas Holland third.
Well, that must have been a bit of a shock for Tim. He wasn't expecting that. What a great, great show from Arthur Wood.
So Ian Law heads the favourite Tim Crooks by 0.8 of a second going into the semi-final, and just a 1/5 of a second separating the other 4 qualifiers. We'll be back with the ergometer finals after this break. Welcome back to Peterborough and the ergometer finals. In the next few minutes, we'll know which of our 4 men and women finalists has achieved the greatest distance in 60 seconds. But first, to a man who a few weeks ago made a rash promise. Steve Redgrave, champion of the water, said that he would try and match the best distance so far in our regional finals. Well, the best distance is 352 metres. Steve Redgrave, the next 60 seconds are all yours. So even for a highly trained athlete like Steve Redgrave, these are going to be punishing moments. Steve, a highly competitive individual, and you can see the concentration etched on his face. And halfway, he's looking good. Remember, 352, the distance to beat. Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Whatever.
371.
Good. It's a very, very hard test. I didn't enjoy it at all. And I just hope no one beats it in the final, because I don't want to do it again.
Well, first we've got the women's final. On machine 1, 19 years old from the Worcester Club, Fiona Shapcott. On machine 2, 20 years old from United University's Gwyn Batten. Next to her, 3 years older, her sister from Thames, Miriam Batten. And completing the lineup, the 26-year-old from Tideway Scullers, Karine Marwick. And the favourite in the red on machine 2 is Gwyn Batten, who won at Kingston, and she set 300 in the semi-finals. That's a record, and there she is, Gwyn Batten. There's a sister who's trying to go with her, but it's a tall order for all the rest of these. Karine Marwick doing very well at the moment. It's between Marwick, who looks fractionally in front, and Gwyn Batten, the other two just behind. Gwyn Batten well in front of her sister Miriam at the moment. Over halfway, and Gwyn Batten goes into the lead. Karine Marwick second, Fiona Shapcott this side is third. Still very close indeed. Powering through in these last seconds now, and Gwyn Batten still just in front. Into the last 10. She's just going to head it. And at the end, it is Gwyn Batten first by 5 meters. So a very strong finish from her.
What feels worst at the moment?
My legs and my backside.
But you've got one of these machines now to take back to your club. How many have you got at the club?
We've got one, and it's in the men's changing rooms, so we have to go through the men's changing rooms if we're going to use them. So perhaps that's why I do better.
So it'll be very popular amongst the women back at the club then?
Yeah, we can put it in our changing rooms now.
So the Batten sisters get first and third. Gwyn first, Karine Marwick gets in between them, Miriam third, Fiona Shapcott fourth. Well, a cosmopolitan look to the men's final. On machine 1, Arnie Lafleur, a New Zealander for Notts County. For the University of London, and from Canada, Norm Rockosh, the favourite. On machine 3, an Ulsterman for Queen's College, Steve Plunkett. And on machine 4, another New Zealander from North Shore Rowing Club, Shane O'Brien. And no doubt about the favourite in the purple and white quarters on machine 2 there. Norm Rockosh, who qualified with 3.52. There's Arnie Lafleur. There's Rockosh, who did 3.51 in the semi-finals. On machine 3, Steve Plunkett, the wild card from Kingston. And on machine 4, the guy who was second at Kingston, third in the semis, Shane O'Brien. Coming up to halfway, and it's really close. And Plunkett is doing really well on machine 3 to hold Norm Rockosh. Arnie Lafleur battling hard, but look at the determination and the wild-eyed look of Norm Rockosh as he powers his way forward now towards the close. And Rockosh just heading Plunkett now. Plunkett battling hard, but I think beginning to fade. Yes, it's Rockosh in the lead, Plunkett second. Shane O'Brien battling hard, but Rockosh going as hard as he can now as the seconds count down. And Rockosh storming away. And Rockosh wins with 3.48, 5 meters clear.
Do you feel elated yet, or still shattered?
No, it's a bit tough. We did 2 in a row, and we're still pretty tired from the first one, but I'm quite elated about winning, though.
I bet you are. After your heat, I saw you go straight back on one of these machines. Why did you do that?
Well, when you do a piece like this, you build up a lot of acid in your muscles. I went back on the machine just to give my muscles a chance to warm down, and by increasing the blood, you know, that gets all the lactic acid out of the muscles.
Is your distance about what you'd expect?
I was hoping for a little closer to 3.71 that Steve did, but unfortunately not quite.
Well, he may not be as good as the mighty Redgrave, but he was far too strong for his opponent. Steve Plunkett, what an astonishing performance from him. He's second, O'Brien third, Lafleur fourth. Now to the semi-finals of the single sculls, and the thoughts of the competitors?
I'm very hopeful, so keep my fingers crossed.
Will you improve on your time, do you think?
I don't know, it just depends how I row. I felt I did quite well there. Hopefully I can go faster.
You ignore the other 2 crews anyway, so you simply go off, you go off the start, you settle into a very high cruise, and then if you've got anything left, you try and take the last few strokes into the finish. But there's no tactics as such. You can't race the other crew. You have to race yourself, race the water, really.
The headwind got slightly stronger during the heats, and I think by the time we came down, it was a bit harder, and I think the last heat really sort of would have had to done something really special just to get through. So I'm glad I made it and just slipped through.
It is going to be the same for everyone all afternoon, though, but it will cause you problems later on, too.
No, not anymore, because in the next race, of course, we're all in the same race, and so those who did the fast times in, I think, the better conditions will now have to do it in the same conditions as we have.
The first semi-final then of the men's sculls. Arthur Wood, Dave Riches and Tim Crooks. There's Arthur Wood, who was 6th in the heats from Camas. Dave Riches, who qualified for the semi-final in 4th place from Belmont Abbey. And there from Kingston, the second fastest qualifier, Tim Crooks. Remember, the fastest 3 from the semi-finals go through to the final.
There's Tim Crooks on the near side there, making no mistakes this time, straight into the lead. Arthur Wood Must be feeling his legs a bit weary now. They're rowing into a headwind, so it's a hard race. And there's the youngest of the three, a very tough competitor. He's a member of the British sculling squad. But Tim Crooks now looking very linked up, perhaps a little bit heavier through the water than he was in his first race. Look at Arthur Wood there on the far side. He's really giving him another race. And Dave Richards, the younger man, lagging a bit behind.
Coming up to the halfway mark, 250 metres. And it is amazing, so close between Arthur Wood and Tim Crooks. 52.11 the standard, and that's pretty fast compared with the heats.
Tim Crooks again in another hard one here. Arthur Wood is really giving it all he's got. But can he keep this up for the second time in a row? And it looks now as if Crooks is beginning to edge away. Yes, Arthur Wood has started to fall back rather quickly there. Now you can see that surging bow of Tim Crooks as he starts to head for the last 10 or 15 strokes.
So Tim Crooks surging towards the line. And here comes Dave Richards making a big effort as Arthur Wood really fades completely at the moment. Tim Crooks going towards the line in a fast time, 1:45.38. Here comes Richards, and Richards takes Wood on the line. By half a second, he is in second place, but there's the winner.
And a convincing one. But Dave Richards rather badly misjudged that. Very disappointing. And Arthur Wood, what a great effort from Arthur Wood.
The second semi-final, Richard Briscoe, Arnold Cook and Ian Law. And how well the 18-year-old schoolboy has done to get into the semi-finals. Arnold Cook, 47 years old, third fastest qualifier. And there's the fastest qualifier from St Andrew Boat Club, Ian Law.
Attention, set, go!
Oh, and Ian Law on the near side there, got away very quickly indeed. He's on at 48 strokes a minute. And then after 15, they'll start to settle into a good pace. That's that distinctive long reach forward from the young Briscoe. He's a very powerful, mature sculler for such a young sculler. But look at that strong power through the middle of the stroke. And it's doing him a lot of good. He's out there, up in front of Ian Law, but Ian Law's a very smooth mover. He's a good stylist. And he's getting his boat running very nicely, and he's taken the lead. And you can see that nice, long, easy movement. Here's the hard man, Arnold Cook, winner of a silver medal at the European Championships in 1964. Very concentrated sculler.
Coming up to halfway, Arthur Wood's time at halfway, 52.11. And they're inside it by half a second. And it's Ian Law in front. Briscoe going really well. Arnold Cook trailing at the moment.
Stroke for stroke, these two now. Ian Law, perhaps just a slightly easier looking there. And he's edging up. Arnold Cook dropping further and further back. Remember, it's his second race in 90 minutes, and those legs of his are probably feeling the pressure.
So Arnold Cook fades, but towards the line comes Ian Law, and he beats Tim Crooks' time yet again. Richard Briscoe second, and he'll have to wait to see whether he's qualified.
That's Arnold Cook's challenge over for another year. But Briscoe through to the final. He's a very promising athlete, Briscoe. Just look at the controlled power as he takes the stroke through the middle of the drive there, and that hard finish. Very long reach forward.
And there's the confirmation that Briscoe has made the final. The veterans Cook and Wood miss out, and the final looks to be between Ian Law and the favourite Tim Crooks. But is he the favourite?
There are a lot of good young men around, and you know, I've wondered if I'm the outsider coming in as an older man, but there are a lot of good scullers around. It's a very friendly competition.
What do you reckon? Is the power of youth going to win over, or is the experience of a 39-year-old going to win the day?
No doubt about that at all. Experience wins.
I think we'll have to see about that. We'll see in the final.
And we'll be giving you a close-up look at the final with the help of the camera and our special dart catamaran. But first, it's the semi-finals of the women's coxed fours. Birmingham against Lee against Thames. They're the Birmingham crew in red, who qualified as sixth fastest, stroked by Maggie Jameson. There's Maggie there. They're the sixth fastest. In the middle, in yellow, are Lee, who qualified as fourth fastest. There's Katie Ball. In the stroke, Lorna Rundle. And on the near side, in blue, the wild cards, who were fifth at Kingston, and how well they've done here. Thames, qualified second fastest.
Set, go!
Birmingham stroke, Maggie Jameson leading her crew off. They're all away nice and cleanly. Birmingham settling down into that good, punchy, hard stroke that they have. Well, they're rolling around a little bit. But they've got the edge on their far side, and Thames looks as if they've been just dropped a bit. Pat Harkness, the Thames stroke, again settling her crew into their race pace. And watch Lee in the middle there. They're moving very well. They're stroked by Lorna Rundle with Katie Ball, the international, behind her, Anna Hitchcock and Lorraine Kay in the bow with Adam O'Neill steering the boat. They're a very plucky, hard crew there from the lee. And there's very little in it as they come up towards the halfway point.
And at halfway, it is Thames in front. Nothing to choose between Lee and Birmingham. But as they cross the line, Thames 53.64, that's a fast time.
There are three very good crews here. Bow's running absolutely neck and neck. Remember, Miriam Batten in the Thames crew at Bow has just been doing the ergometer test. She's doing a wonderful job there, and it's Thames now beginning to edge ahead. All of them racing for a place in the final to win a boat for their club.
Coming to the line now, and it's desperately close between the three of them, but Thames have still maintained that lead. As they come towards the line now, Thames stretching out, crossing it in 1:46.46. Lee a second and a half behind them, and a further half second behind are Birmingham.
What a well-judged race there from Thames, and Pat Harkness, their stroke, did a very good job there. Last year's runners-up, Birmingham, very disappointed with that third place. And the Lee looking absolutely shattered. They know they've been in a race.
The second semi-final, Clydesdale, Tideway Scullers and Kingston. Clydesdale in red qualified as fifth fastest for this semi-final. Next to them, in yellow, the fast improving crew of the day. Tideway Scullers, third fastest into this semi-final. And nearest to us, Kingston, who had a disaster in the final last year, hit two buoys when overwhelming favourites. They are the favourites at the moment.
They're off at the second time of asking, and it's now developing into quite a strong headwind. And there's Kingston on the near side, off in that familiar high, fast rating start. And Clydesdale with stroke Christina Brown, Eleanor McNeish, Shauna McGibbon and Patricia McKellar in the bow, with Cox Colin Simpson steering the boat. And Clydesdale well up there on the far side, and Kingston trying to settle into a stronger, more sensible rhythm at 38 strokes a minute, but still being led by the girls in the middle. It's Tideway Scullers, there they are. Stroke Stephanie Dancer, and just behind her, Karine Marwick, who was second, if you remember, earlier on in the day in the ergometer test. And they're getting a good drive off the stretcher. Very little in it as they come up to halfway.
The fast time on the left set by Thames in the first semi-final. Let's see how it compares with that. Well, it's going way past it, nearly a second down. It's Kingston in front, but remember that all three crews in the first semi-final finished pretty close together, so trouble for all these three if they want to qualify for the final.
That wind has certainly picked up. It's Tideway Scullers in the middle, finding that headwind rather hard. You can see how they're really leaning into the wind. Kingston on the near side now coming through.
Here come Kingston, so it's Kingston and Tideway Scullers as they go to the line.
Over those times are well down. 2 seconds out. Well, that's going to be very disappointing. It could be that none of these crews will make it through to the final. And that's Tideway Scullers and Kingston. Are they going to run out of luck yet again?
Conditions obviously were suddenly very unfair because the wind got up, and if you look at the times, we're suddenly 3 seconds adrift. The whole heat is 3 seconds adrift to crews which we were beating by margins, but we weren't 3 seconds lower than them. So the wind conditions cost us the qualifying for the final.
But through to the final, Birmingham for the second year running, Lee getting faster all the time, and the quickest, the wild cards from Kingston, Thames.
Yeah, I think we're quite confident. I think we'll do it again. Hope so anyway.
Katie, are you going to change your strategy at all? You can't give away any secrets here, but...
Yeah, we're going to beat them this time. That's our strategy, our change.
How difficult has the wind changing been for you all throughout the afternoon?
I think the main problem is the start. It's the crews have to do so much touching up at the start. Really makes you nervous.
The first semi-final of the men's eights. City of Oxford, Agecroft and the University of London. There, the City of Oxford, not students, as you can see, and a wide variety of professions there. Electrician, an engineer, a fitter, a teacher, a postman, a metallurgist, a teacher, and the stroke there, Kevin McWilliams, is the engineer. And the men in yellow in the centre, Agecroft from Salford near Manchester, who qualified as 4th fastest into this semi-final. Stroke there by Eric Caldwell. And there are the champions. In blue, nearest us, the University of London. First at Kingston, and have qualified for the semi-final as 2nd fastest.
Attention, set, go!
The stroke of the City of Oxford crew, Kev McWilliams, taking them off, and on the near side, it's University of London, now beginning to wind up their stroke. That nasty squall is gone, and the crews are getting into their stride. Kevin looking across there to see where he stands, and he's doing well. There's very little in it, and in fact, University of London, the favourites, seem to be slightly down. And that's University of London throwing up quite a lot of water, but they're pushing back now as they come up to the halfway point. There's Eric Caldwell, the stroke of the Agecroft crew. He's the reigning world veteran sculling champion. And that's very good blade work from Agecroft. Good, hard, punchy, accurate work.
Up to the halfway point, 250 metres to go, and the favourites and champions are in front. University of London from Agecroft, and at the moment, City of Oxford are trailing.
Oh, and look at UL, they're storming away over this second half. Tideway Sculler's going to have a hard job against them. And on the far side, Agecroft, City of Oxford, they know they still can produce a time, but it's UL all the way.
Coming to the line. It's University of London who win by nearly a length from Agecroft, with the City of Oxford 3rd. And a very strong time and a big challenge for the Tideway Scullers to come.
UL really coming good in their reorganised crew. Johnny Hull's there in the stroke seat. He hasn't been stroking a lot, but he's doing a very good job for them at the moment.
So the second semi-final. Rob Roy, Thames Tradesmen and Tideway Scullers know what they have to do. There in red, Rob Roy, qualified from the Kingston Regional and was 5th fastest in their heats. In yellow, we have Thames Tradesmen. Again from Kingston, they were the wild cards and qualified as 3rd fastest into this semi-final. And this side, the red-hot favourites, packed with internationals. Tideway Scullers, the fastest qualifiers into the semi-finals.
So the crew to watch here then is the Tideway Scullers with all their internationals.
Go!
And there are the hands of Rob Roy stroke Ian Watson as he takes his crew off the start. Remember, all of these crews are in the hunt for very valuable prizes. All 3 finalists get over £1,000 worth of equipment, and the winners get a new £7,000 Racing 8. There's Ian Watson. He's taken Rob Roy off at 52 strokes a minute, but the Tideway Scullers at 40 strokes a minute look longer and much more powerful. Thames Tradesmen in the middle, holding their own well, but Tideway Scullers forging ahead as they come up to the halfway point. There's Tradesmen.
Up towards halfway, there's the time from UL to beat, 44.0, and they're nearly 2 seconds inside it. Tideway Scullers roaring on, and a good time too from the Thames Tradesmen.
Well, look how close those other crews are. They're holding on very, very well indeed. And that's the Scullers stroke there. John Beattie, 3 times a bronze medalist. Malcolm McGowan behind him, an Olympic silver medalist. A lightweight gold medalist behind him. And Richard Budgett at 5 there, the Olympic champion from 1984. And there are the bowmen in the Scullers crew, and they're opening up that lead enormously. 3/4 of a length, and they're coming up to the last 10 strokes of this race.
It's a very fast time and a classy row. And 1:24.79 is the time. Under a second quicker than Rob Roy, but definitely through to the final are Tideway Scullers and probably Thames Tradesmen as well.
All those Scullers men are real world beaters. Just have another look how they draw that stroke through together so well, and how hard they finish them out and send the boat away. That's really class rowing.
And that row from the Scullers will have put the fear of God into the champions, the University of London. And there you see, Thames Tradesmen are through as well, so they're at least sure of winning a set of 8 blades for their club. We'll be back with the finals after this break.
before we get to today's finals, let's take time out for the last of our Olympic previews and a look at Britain's prospects in the sculling events. In the 60s and 70s, two of today's power sprint finalists led the way in the sculling events. Arnold Cook won European silver in 1964 with Peter Webb, while 8 years later, Tim Crooks and Pat Delafield finished 5th in the Olympic finals in Munich. But it was the partnership of Chris Baillieu and Mike Hart which proved the most successful, with Olympic silver and world gold medals in 1976 and 77. Right now, one man who's working hard to earn his place in Seoul is last year's Leyland Daf sculling champion Rory Henderson, who this season has teamed up with Anton Obholzer. Daniel Topolsky assesses their chances.
For both of them, Rory at stroke and Anton in the bow, this is their first chance to win an international vest. But what an arena to try for, the Olympic Regatta Basin in Seoul. Now 27, Rory was a good junior who's only now fulfilling his early promise. He knows exactly how much hard work is required just to win selection.
Throughout the winter, a lot of running, a lot of gym work, a lot of weights. As the weather gets better, more and more water work, but having said that, we've been out twice most days on the river throughout the winter, even in the cold and the dark, so...
Is it affecting your work?
Hard slog. It can do at times, yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate they're very good to me at work, so give me all the time I need.
So your boss is keen for you to go to the Olympics?
Yeah, he's keen, yeah.
At 19, Anton Obholzer, his partner, is the youngest member of the British squad. He's hoping that Seoul will mark the beginning of a successful international career.
That's obviously exciting, but I feel quite prepared. So I've done all my winter training, and I mean, I've been going fast enough, so I'm quite prepared for it.
Both Rory and Anton are big men, around 14 stone and 6'6" tall, with the ideal physique for rowing. They're the leading lights in the British sculling squad, and if they can win selection to the British team, a place in the Olympic final at their first attempt would be a major achievement. The event that we in the rowing world are looking forward to is probably the most exciting confrontation at these Olympic Games. It's the single sculls between Pertti Karppinen of Finland and Peter Michael Kolbe from West Germany. Karppinen is the winner of the last 3 Olympic gold medals at Montreal, Moscow and Los Angeles. At 35, he'll be trying to make Olympic history, for no man or woman has ever won 4 consecutive gold medals. Kolbe, just 6 months the younger and 6 times world champion, bids for the only title that has always eluded him. His upright style, which you can see there, lends itself to his devastating use of power in the first half of the race, which is just as well since he likes to hit the front early on. His problem, though, is trying to resist the Finns' extraordinary burst out there on the far side over the final 500 metres. While Seoul will be duel number 10, both of these champions know that standing in the wings are 2 young pretenders. America's Andy Sudduth, here in dark blue, who in the 1985 World Championships felt that burning Karppinen finishing sprint at first hand. The other was East Germany's Thomas Lange, who beat them both in last year's World Championships final. So who will win? It's a hard one to predict. All that's certain is that this is one event Britain won't be winning. But what of our medal chances? Penny Shooter, Director of International Rowing, will be leading our squad to Seoul.
Obviously Stephen Redgrave and Andrew Holmes. In last year's World Championships they won a gold medal in the coxless pair. They also doubled up and tried 2 events, and at the same time they also got a silver medal in the cox pair. The previous year, 1986 World Championships in Nottingham, they got a gold in the cox pair. So the big decision for me and them is to decide whether they should double up this year or not. And my priority would be to get the safest gold medal, if there is such a thing as a safe gold medal, in one event, rather than jeopardising it by trying 2. On the other hand, if we feel we can try 2, even if it's only a bronze in the other event, it's maybe worth trying, but we have to see how the season develops. So that's our best chance. Last year's World Championships, again, we also got a 4th and a 5th in the final with the 2 4s, cox and coxless 4s, and once you're in the final, there's always a chance for a medal. So I would be hopeful that at very best we might get 4. On the other hand, it's tough at the top and we could end up with nothing.
And it's pretty tough here as well. Not there, though, where the socialising continues at the bar at the Peterborough Clubhouse. But our three top men preparing for the final of these single sculls. There they are, Richard Briscoe, Tim Crooks and Ian Law. And what a moment for this young man, 18-year-old Richard Briscoe from King Edward VI School. There's the favourite, second fastest qualifier, Tim Crooks of Kingston. And the man is up against Ian Law, the fastest qualifier from the St Andrew Boat Club. Head-to-head in the final of the Leyland Daft Power Sprint.
Well, these are our three regional winners from Glasgow, Worcester and Kingston. And Crooks with a lot to find there if he's going to catch Ian Law. There's the youngster on the far side in exalted company. And Ian Law's just been dropped that little bit, and Crooks in the middle has got the edge at the moment. Look at the tremendous aggression of this man. He's such a powerful athlete. And he's leading the field. Ian Law, you can see, at a much lower rate of striking. He's at about 35 strokes a minute to Tim Crooks at 40. He's a very nice, stylish sculler, this man. Very cool customer, and he's holding on to Crooks now. And as they come up to the halfway point, he's beginning to edge back.
But Crooks has gone storming off, and he's about half a length clear as they cross the halfway point. Although, as you can see, Law making inroads, and Richard Briscoe, I'm afraid, is going to have to be content with third place.
Well, Crooks trying to hold off the younger man. Those legs of his are going to tire over the second half. Can he draw on that experience to see him through? Law is really coming now in this last part of the race. In fact, he looks like he's taken the lead. Crooks hanging on there, trying to get something extra. What a close race.
Desperately close. 38-year-old Tim Crooks there, hanging on for grim death now, as Ian Law gains with every stride. They look about dead level as they come towards the line now. Richard Briscoe has been dropped. It's between Crooks in the middle and Law this side. As they come towards the line, it's Crooks just in front, but Law gaining with every stroke. To the line now, and Crooks it is who just holds on.
What a race. That's Crooks. He doesn't know it yet, but it doesn't look like he's too interested. He looks flat out. And Law, what a fine, fine finish from him. What a fine sculler he is. You can just see this race here as they come into the line again. It's Crooks hanging on as Law attacks him. Every stroke he's pulling back. And look, as they hit the line there, yes, we can see it's Crooks by probably about 4 or 5 inches.
A battle royal between the two of them. And there's confirmation of the result. In third place, Richard Briscoe from King Edward VI School. Second, Ian Law of St Andrews. And the champion, 38-year-old Tim Crooks of Kingston.
Tim, congratulations. It's been a long, hard day for you. It's all been worthwhile.
Yes, very much so. But goodness me, what a finish. I was dying the last 10 strokes. I looked round about 12 strokes to go just to see how far it was, because I didn't know. And then I knew, and I thought I might do it. And I just stuck my head down, and I didn't know. We crossed the line, I hadn't a clue whether I'd won.
The final of the Cox Fours now, Birmingham, Lee and Thames. And there are Birmingham, last year's runners-up at Bristol. Third fastest qualifiers. In yellow, we have Lee from the East End of London, who qualified as second fastest. And the story so far has been set by Thames. A wild-card entry and into the final as the fastest qualifiers.
Attention, set, go!
Lorna Rundle at stroke for Lee, taking the crew off. Good, hard competitor she is. But that was a terrible bit of steering from Birmingham on the far side. Look, they're steering back onto their course. That's really thrown them back. And that's given Lee the chance to get away at 45 strokes to the minute. Most experienced person in the race is Katie Ball at 3 in that boat. And it looks as if the Lee have the edge on Thames, who are in the lane nearest to us. And Birmingham still trying to get themselves back into shape, throwing up quite a bit of water. And Lee still just have the edge. Thames there as well, throwing up water, rolling around. These inexperienced crews having a bit of trouble with their lightweight American oars.
Coming up to the halfway point, and it's very close indeed between Lee in the centre from East London and Thames from Putney Bridge this side. At the moment, Birmingham being left behind, and it's a battle royal between Lee and Thames.
What a cliffhanger here. This second half now, it has to be the crew that can keep the cohesion and turn on the power. It's so easy to start falling apart just at this stage, but it's Thames who seem to be getting it. It's Thames who are holding on. It's Thames who are powering away now.
Coming now towards the line, and it's Thames in front, and it looks as if Lee's grand effort has just failed. Birmingham falling behind, but Thames now increasing their lead with every stride, and Thames win the Coxed Fours. Lee are second, and Birmingham are third.
And what a delighted Thames. They've got that nice and clear, and they win the new boat for their club back in London.
And amidst the elation, a certain amount of satisfaction for them, but look at the agony for Lee. There's the stroke Lorna Rundle, unable to contain her emotions.
And there are the winners again, Thames. They come up to the line. They're rowing really quite superbly. Look at that strong, strong, powerful finish. What a good job.
Did you think as you were going over that finishing line that you'd just won yourself £4,000 worth of boat?
I just thought we'd won a race and it felt so good. It's marvellous.
It's been a long fight, hasn't it?
It has. It's very tough indeed to row such a sprint in so many times in one afternoon. It really takes it out of you.
Well, your tactics have paid off.
Just about, yeah.
A lot of celebrations for the club tonight.
Indeed, a lot.
The last race of the day, the final of the men's eights. Thames Tradesmen, University of London and Tideway Scullers. There are Thames Tradesmen, the wild card from Kingston, third fastest into the final. And what a task for these boys, because two fantastic crews up against them. There are the champions from last year, the University of London, second fastest in the heats, second fastest going into these finals, but superbly confident. And here are their main rivals, the Tideway Scullers, who've done so well today. Qualified first and first in the semi-finals. So Tideway Scullers in blue, University of London in yellow, and Thames Tradesmen in red.
Tideway Scullers on the lane closest to us, slow starting, those long first three strokes, and then they really wind it up. But there's Thames Tradesmen getting into their stride. Well together, good disciplined crew, and they're well up there as well. In fact, it looks like UL in the middle have just got the edge, but it's very, very close at this stage. Young Johnny Hull's at stroke there, only 18 years old, a junior medalist, but what a good job he's doing. What a tight unit they are.
It's desperately close at halfway. The champions in the middle, University of London, trying all they know to defend their title, but here come the Scullers really putting on the pressure at the moment.
The Scullers now really drawing on that depth of experience, trying to get back on terms. UL still hanging on, but Scullers just inching on this near side. The bowman there stretching out, but look, Thames Tradesmen on the far side, still in the race as well. Oh, and Scullers have just sneaked a foot there in these last 25 strokes.
It's desperately close as they move towards the line now. The champions in the middle, I think just fractionally down, but they're making one last concerted effort to get in there. University of London and Scullers this side. They cross the line, it's impossible to choose between them. Thames Tradesmen are third, but who's won it?
Well, they obviously don't know there on the water, and we certainly don't know here. What an extraordinary race, inches in it. And they're the defending champions. Will they hold on to the title? Let's see if we can see this again, see if we can split them on the line. Stroke for stroke, bows running absolutely level.
And the winners of the Leyland Daf Power Sprint Championships for 1988 are Tideway Scullers.
Tideway Scullers know they've won it. Tideway Scullers win the 1988 men's eights in this Leyland Daf Power Sprint.
I thought University of London were going to be our close competitors, and they certainly were. It was a great race.
Well, they are your closest rivals on the Thames.
They certainly are, yeah.
And you've beaten them today, not just once, but 3 times, but above all, you've beaten them in the race that really counted.
That's right, yes, we're very pleased. It hasn't really sunk in yet, but I expect it will.
Quite a few celebrations in the clubhouse tonight.
maybe 1 or 2 little pints.
Over the past 3 weeks, more than 1,700 rowers from 100 different clubs have been competing in the Power Sprint Championship. Now, the moment they were competing for, the presentation of the prizes to the 3 winners. From Kingston Rowing Club in London, the Leyland Daff champion sculler Tim Crooks, receiving a new sculling boat for his club from Chris Thornycroft-Smith, the marketing director of Leyland Daff. The Thames Women's 4 are this year's Leyland Daff champions, and to make it a clean sweep for the London-based crews, Tideway scullers take the prize for the men's 8s. Well, as we've discovered, rowing is an exciting sport and one that demands skill, determination and the will to win. So good luck to our champions. We hope that you've enjoyed our coverage over the last 4 weeks on Channel 4. Until the next time, goodbye.